All right, so we are here to recap NFL Week 7. And just as a little note, I'm not going to be doing the tier rankings this week because I'm still trying to catch my stride on what I really like to do and how I want to make videos each week. The tier listing was kind of fun, but, I wasn't feeling it. So I just want to kind of go back to the regular recap, just talk about each individual game, and then we will continue to, evolve, expand, grow, and just, change as we go. So let's get started with these games. We'll start on Thursday Night Football. The Browns defeated the Broncos 17-14, and the Dearness Johnson breakout game. This was one of the greatest games I've seen by a guy in his first career start. He had 146 yards, a touchdown. He was so smooth and smart when running the ball. He may not be the fastest, but he was really smooth and smart with running the ball. I mean, the Browns' running game, they were down, I think, some offensive linemen, their two top running backs, out Baker. Their wide receivers were playing and injured. And they were playing like a third-string running back, and he played a fantastic game. They legit have three, if Dearness Johnson can continue to play like this, they have three legit starting running backs right now. They have Hunt, Chubb, and Johnson all on their roster. So, in all honesty, Hunt's probably not going to be there next year because there's no reason to keep him because you'll want to keep Chubb. And then, you'll keep Johnson because now you know that you have a legit, backup running back that you can continue doing what you do with Chubb and Hunt now. And then, Johnson, he was smart. He got down on the, at the end of the game. Instead of running in for a touchdown, he just got down, let the clock run. And I think he had a good game. But yeah, the Browns overall, I think they played a perfect game for all the injuries they had. Case Keenum did everything he was asked. He didn't do too much. He did just enough to win the game, didn't really make mistakes. And I think with all the injuries they had, the Browns played a really fantastic game, and their defense was really dominant. The Browns had a hot start. Their opening drive was awesome. I think that they just gave it to Johnson, Hooper, and then just ran. It was a really quick drive. It was really nice to see. The Broncos were just a really bad football team. They're on a 4-game losing streak after starting 3-0. Their offense is terrible. It has no life to them. They had a couple drives in the second half to score. Their first drive, I think, at a halftime was very long. It took about 6.5, 7 minutes. But I think the Broncos are a really bad team in a division where there's only two teams that are good right now in the Raiders and Chargers because the Chiefs haven't been playing well. We'll get to that game next, but yeah, the Broncos are bad, and I think the Browns, for however long Baker's out, if he does play next week, we'll get into that in the prediction video later this week. But I think the Browns played a perfect game for the situation that they were in. Now we'll get to Sunday. We start with the Titans just destroying the Chiefs 27-3, and let me, as a Chiefs fan, get this one out of the way first. This is probably the worst Chiefs game I've seen in years. Yeah, I remember vividly that game against the Giants where they scored 9 points in 2017 with Alex Smith still as a quarterback in a game that I thought they were going to do better. They scored 9 points at least in that game. Even the Super Bowl, man. They played better in the Super Bowl. They played bad in the Super Bowl, but they played better in the Super Bowl than this, and I couldn't tell you the last time I remember a game this bad. I think the worst game I remember in recent history was when Matt Castle was out. They had to start a backup quarterback back in 2010 when they had to play the Chargers because Matt Castle was having some surgery or something, and they scored no points, could do nothing on offense, and the Chargers put up 35 points or something crazy, and the Chiefs scored nothing. It was that kind of, Mahomes isn't a backup quarterback, but the way they played, it was so bad. The offensive line could not protect Mahomes to save his life. The defense was terrible. I know they shut out a team again in the second half, but I don't think that counts because at that point, I feel like the Titans weren't playing scared, but they're screw this, we're playing the Chiefs. Even on a bad day, they can still score. So I think that, Titans were just all right, we played well in the first half. Let's get the hell out of here with this W. Yeah, the Titans shut down the Chiefs all day. Chiefs, as I said, their offensive line was bad. Mahomes had his worst game of his career by far. The defense was just letting it wasn't even Derrick Henry. It was just, running a couple of plays. But the Chiefs were selling out to stop the run. They stopped Derrick Henry. He only had 86 yards. He was averaging 3 yards a carry. But the Titans scored on every drive in the first half. They scored 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. The Chiefs were bad in this game. No one, and then at the same time, no one wanted to play. There was, at the end of the game, there was Frank Clark smiling on the sideline. After they had been blown out and he hadn't done anything all year. He has 7 tackles already at all this year. He's done nothing this year. Nick Bolton was the high spot of this game because he would square up to Derrick Henry and stop him, and he'd be willing to make a tackle, but nobody on defense literally felt like they wanted to be there. But I mean, this was by far Mahomes' worst game of his career. He had a fumble when he was trying to run the ball for a first down. He had another interception that was ill-advised. I mean, even Chad Henne got in on the interception action, throwing one at the end of the game. I mean, if we're talking positives for the Chiefs, they gave up 0 points for the second straight game. But what's that saying? They beat Washington, and then they played the Titans team, who were kind of just in cruise mode because they completely dominated, and their defense. Credit to the Titans defense too. Credit to the Titans defense. They completely shut down the Chiefs all game. They get 3 points, but they shut them down all game. I thought the Titans were very impressive. I was wrong about their defense. The Titans are probably a top 5-10 team in football right now. And then you have to talk about Ryan Tannehill's performance. He dominated them. He had a near perfect game. He completed his first 11 completions. I mean, his only bad pass was one to Willie Gay, but I mean, at that point, did it really matter? And it was a really bad football game for the Chiefs. This is the next day when I'm recording it, and it's still kind of hard to put into words how bad this game was. And there's going to be a lot of things that are going to have to change. That defense is going to have to play much better. They stopped the run. They couldn't stop the pass to save their lives. The offense was terrible. Couldn't protect Mahomes. Heck, even Mahomes almost got, it looked like he broke his neck on one of those plays. It was bad. This game was awful. And then but at the same time, we have to give credit to the Titans, man. Derrick Henry got in on the action through a touchdown pass, in the first half. So, yeah, the Titans flat out dominated the Chiefs. And the Chiefs right now are a bad football team. And they're going to have to change a lot of things if they're going to even want to be a wild card team right now. Because of the way they're playing right now, and it's not even at this point the Chiefs are beating themselves. They're just playing really bad football. They're playing bad football. It's not pretty. So, yeah, the Chiefs have a lot to work on. And the Titans are a legit team that they lost to the Jets, but they played the Bills last week and beat them and then, destroyed the Chiefs. So the Titans are, a top team in the AFC right now. Next game, we have the Bengals and Ravens. Bengals flat out destroyed the Ravens. They won 41-17, and Jamar Chase is a top receiver in the league. I don't care what anybody else to say. You have Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. It was easily one of the top connections in the NFL. They were nearly unstoppable. And then along with that, Joe Burrow, with no offensive line, has a chance to be a top quarterback in the NFL. He has 17 touchdowns this year already in only 7 games. I think he's looked better now than what he did coming off that injury. Yeah, that has to do with Jamar Chase coming back, but you have to have that connection. And they have that connection. They are so good. And then defensively for the Bengals, they did a great job stopping Lamar. They got 5 sacks on him, which is a rarity against him because he's so good at maneuvering the pocket and not, taking those sacks. And then, the Bengals defense, like I just talked about, they're a force to be reckoned with right now. I think they're top 10 right now, and then that offense is very good. They're no longer a pushover team. I mean, because the Ravens could not stop the Bengals at all. They were bad in this game. I think that, Lamar, I just find it weird how Lamar and Mahomes have arguably their worst games of their career on the same weekend. That's really weird. And then, the Bengals, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They played a fantastic game. Joe Burrow looked awesome. Threw, I think, over 400 yards. He had an interception that he even beat himself over. He's like, I got to cut down on that. So, yeah, the Bengals are a tough team to beat, and I think they will be there at the end of the year. And they might be a playoff team. Winning the division, I don't think so. But, hey, if they continue to play like this and the Ravens, Because the Ravens came off some back-to-back-to-back. They went 6 straight games with some crazy. It started week 1 against the Raiders, and then the Chargers, they just, demolished them. And, the Lions game was close. I'm missing another one, but, the Ravens have been playing, really close games recently. And their defense has not been, they had it against last week against the Chargers was good, but, this week they just got eaten alive. So, Bengals are a legit team, and they're going to be fun to watch the rest of the year, and I hope they make the playoffs. The next game that was kind of weird, and I don't really want to talk much about it. You had the Giants beating the Panthers 25-3. Daniel Jones literally is the next Odell. He had a fantastic catch on a trick play. But, other than this game, Sam Darnold got benched for P.J. Walker, and apparently there's rumors that even now the Panthers want Deshaun Watson because Panthers started 3-0, lost 4 in a row. They're a bad football team. Darnold's terrible. He had a intentional grounding for a safety. In my opinion, neither one of these teams are very good. The Giants are just a better team. But, yeah, neither one of these teams are making the playoffs. Neither one of these teams are going anywhere. If the Panthers somehow get Deshaun Watson, I would be hesitant to do it because of all the legal crap that he's going through. But, yeah, these teams are bad. The Giants were just a much better football team. So, yeah, congrats to the Giants. The Panthers are very, very bad. Next, we have the Raiders-Eagles. The Raiders defeated the Eagles 33-22. I think the Raiders have been playing fantastic football the last couple weeks. Derek Carr has been playing, I think, really good all season. And then, I don't, as a coach, that may have been the issue. John Gruden as a coach may have been the issue for that team, maybe holding them back, maybe not putting them in the right situations. But, the way they've been playing, I don't see them as a team that's going to choke. They went to overtime against the Ravens. And beat them. Last week they dominated the Broncos. This week they defeated the Eagles handedly. They outplayed the Eagles, and I just don't see them choking. They didn't have Darren Waller today, and they still played a really, really good football game. And so I think it's going to be hard for anyone to beat the Raiders right now in a division where, honestly, right now, the way that things have been going, I know the Chargers were on a bye, but I think this is the best team in the AFC West right now. The Broncos aren't good. The Chiefs aren't good. The Chargers are off, and they just went on, had a bad game against the Ravens. So I think the Raiders are a legit team. They had a fantastic game. Derek Carr could not easily, but could be a contender for the MVP this year. And I don't think they're going to, I think they will be in the contention at the end of the year. The Eagles, their side, they were just bad this game. Their defense was terrible. Their coaching decision at the start of the second half to go for an onside kick was just a dumb idea. The Raiders recovered, scored off of it. The Eagles fumbled at the goal line when they could have, scored a touchdown. And then their defense couldn't stop the Raiders. So, the one thing they did, they got an interception on Derek Carr, but other than that, they didn't do much. So, yeah, the Eagles are a pretty bad football team. Next, we have the Packers defeating Washington 24-7. Washington's just a bad football team. I guess I didn't see this live, but their kicker bounced a kick off the ground, a field goal off the ground. So, yeah, that's his last name was Blewett, and he blew it. The best thing they had was a throw and catch from Heineke and McLaurin. Their defense still has issues. They didn't give up a ton of points to the Packers, but at the same time, I think the Packers are maybe more focused on a more important game on Thursday night against the Cardinals, which I think is the same thing for them. You'll see coming up against the Texans. But I think, they're bad. And then I will defend Heineke real quick. There's that stupid rule, and I understand protecting quarterbacks, but it cost them a TD. I think that if it's in the field of play, they're not going for a touchdown. I think that's fine. Protect the quarterback. But I think if they're going into the end zone, I think that's a one situation where a quarterback shouldn't be, had a touchdown taken from him because of it. I don't think that's fair. That rule screwed them out of a touchdown. They didn't play well all game, and they didn't end up scoring on the drive either. But I don't like that rule. I like the rule in the field of play, but I don't like it when it comes to a touchdown. That's just me. I really don't like it. And then for the Packers, they weren't anything special. Their defense was fantastic today. Their defense was a force to be reckoned with. But their offense, nothing special. But they won in convincing fashion. Like I said, their defense was good, causing some turnovers. Not allowing a touchdown at the goal line. But their their offense did what it needed. Rodgers just had an awesome scramble 4th down pass to Devontae Adams. And then the Packers are on a 6-game winning streak after week 1. So I think even though it wasn't a pretty game, by the Packers standards, they weren't flashy. They didn't do the big things. Their guys stepped up: Lazard, Tunyon, Rodgers, Adams, Aaron Jones. They all did their part. They won this game. And then on a side note, their uniforms looked really good. And then next we have the team that's going to face the Packers on Thursday Night Football. We have the Cardinals defeating the Texans 31-5, which was a score that got me. That was nice. I want to say this game felt like a trap. They won the game, so it wasn't a full-on trap game. They didn't play their best game to start. They gave up a safety. Like I said, they were slow to start. But, they made nice plays. Murray had a sweet pass to A.J. Green, and then Zach Ertz had a really nice touchdown run after the catch. The Cardinals are so dynamic on offense. They have A.J. Green, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, who had a good game, Zach Ertz now. A couple great running backs. You have Kyler Murray, an offensive line that's helping him, a defense that's fantastic. This team's going to be hard to beat. They are undefeated. They play the Packers on Thursday Night Football. So I think that'll be a good game. That's why I was saying I think the Packers and Cardinals were more looking forward to that game, maybe more than their opponents this week. But yeah, I think the Cardinals are still a legit team. There's always that one game where really good teams struggle against lesser opponents, but Cardinals are good. I like everything they're doing, and I think they are the top team in the NFC by far right now. Next we have I think was a fun game. You have the Rams defeating the Lions 28-19. The Lions brought everything for this game. They brought fake punts, onside kicks, going for it on 4th down. They really wanted to win this game. They ran offensive plays for the first time while leading this year. I think they wanted this game badly. Jared Goff really wanted to win this game. I really do. He played his heart out. Like, even on the last drive, when it almost didn't matter, he was still trying to get his team into a scoring position. And he threw an interception, but I was off the Dan Campbell bandwagon, but I think I'm back on it. I mean, they brought everything. They played well. They brought every trick in the book because I think they wanted to win this game real bad. They wanted to make a statement. And now the toughness mentality, that part of it isn't necessarily there for me, but the no give up attitude, like, we're going to bring everything. We're 0-7. They might legit be the best 0-7 team ever. And if they go 0-16 or 0-17, it'll probably go them, then them again back in 2008, and then it'll go probably the Browns from most recently. But man, the Lions are they bring everything, so that's good to them. The Rams, had a little bit of a slow start. That onside kick at the beginning of the game didn't help. They got down to a 10-0. But once their receivers got involved, Cooper, Van Jefferson, Woods, Henderson, once they all got going, it wasn't clear sailing, but Matthew Stafford, once they got going, it was good for the Rams, and they started playing really, really good. They're going to be hard to beat. I think the Lions are going to give people troubles each week. Yeah, this game was really fun to me. I really like the aspect of Jared Goff coming back to his former team and playing them. So yeah, and then Jared Goff still has never won a game without Sean McVay as his head coach. So might be saying something about Jared Goff. Next we have the Buccaneers destroying the Bears 38-3. Yeah, the Bears are bad. Justin Fields is not ready to play. He's not played good at all this year. The Bears could do nothing. Their offense was bad. Their defense was bad. The best stop they had was on a useless stop on 4th down after the game was already over, when the game didn't matter. The Bucs are a great team. Their defense played amazing with all the injuries. Richard Sherman, was acting as the secondary coach. I'm sure he did his job right because that secondary didn't allow anything. The defense helped set up the Bucs offense with short fields on almost every drive. That helped Tom Brady get a 600 touchdown pass, and then Mike Evans accidentally gave it to a fan. But I really think this team just keeps getting better, and I think Tom Brady's playing better now than he did in his time in New England. Yeah, this game was just complete annihilation by the Buccaneers. Next, we have the Falcons and Dolphins. Falcons won on a late field goal, 30-28. And before I get into the game recap, I want to say I'm a fan of Tua. Yeah, he made some bad throws, but I'm a fan. He's played well the last couple of weeks. I really want him to get a full season and maybe next year to, really show what he's worth, because his injuries and him getting benched, I don't think is good for him. Yeah, the Dolphins are 1-6. Their defense needs to get better, and their offense obviously needs to be more efficient. Tua can cut back on the turnovers, but I think he's played well the last couple of weeks, but I might be the only one that thinks that. They almost came back from being down 27-14 in the fourth quarter. That means the Falcons almost choked another game. But, you had Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts, who had a fantastic game together. But Tua led them down to take the lead, 28-27. I mean, yeah, the Dolphins are a bad team, but if they clean up their mistakes, their defense plays better. I think Tua may not be the reason they win, but in the future, I think can be a reason why they stay in games, and I don't think he's going to cost them games in the future. Yeah, the turnovers didn't help, but I'm a fan of Tua, and I'm probably the only one. Next, we had another complete annihilation. The Patriots destroyed the Jets 54-13. Zach Wilson got beat up, had to leave because of an injury, and he's out 2 to 4 weeks right now. The Jets got completely destroyed. The Patriots probably would have scored 100 if they really wanted to. They were doing anything and everything to score. They were doing trick plays against the freaking Jets of all teams. They wanted to win this game. Mac Jones had his best game as a starter. They finally got their first home win of the season. I mean, if they continue to play like this, they're going to be back on track to everybody hating them. But yeah, what is there to say? The Patriots just destroyed the Jets, who are a very bad football team. Next, we have Sunday Night Football. We have the Colts defeating the 49ers 30-18. The weather was terrible in this game. There were some turnovers that, we probably saw were coming. Carson Wentz had a fumble that we thought was an interception, so I guess he's lucky and still only has one interception on the season, but it was still a bad play. The 49ers really only had 2 good drives all night. The opening drive, they scored quickly on a, just running the ball, nice passes. It was the same thing. They scored in like 3 plays in a drive in the second half. They capitalized on a couple turnovers by the Colts scoring a field goal. But the turnovers are really what hurt the 49ers, along with penalties. I think the Colts scored a touchdown on like every drive after the Colts turned the ball over. The Colts were able to draw some defensive pass interference on a couple plays because Wentz underthrew his receiver of all things. This game was sloppy. Jimmy Garoppolo tried to do some stuff at the end to help the team get into it, but after, the interception he threw at the end of the game, it kind of iced it for him. But then there was also a punt that I thought was a safety, but it wasn't. So I guess I really don't understand that rule. I thought I understood football. I guess I don't understand that. But yeah, I mean, the turnovers were sloppy in this game. Carson Wentz's, I guess, fumble, and then Jonathan Taylor fumbled. But then, the interceptions by Jimmy Garoppolo, the fumbles by each team. This game, the weather was really sloppy, and yeah, it didn't make for pretty viewing. But the Colts came out; they've looked good. They won last week, defeating the Texans. They played the Ravens close, so I think they're on pace to maybe make the playoffs as like a 6 or 7 seed. So the Colts pulled it out in a sloppy game, which is funny because they're a dome team and they went into a freaking not a hailstorm, but a downpour, and beat the team that plays outside all the time. So it is what it is. The Colts just, kind of destroyed the 49ers. And now we are on to the final game of the week of Monday Night Football. The Saints defeated the Seahawks 13-10. This game was awful to watch. So if we look at each side of the ball, Geno Smith played a terrible game. His clock management skills were bad. He was missing receivers. He was, taking sacks at the end of the game. I mean, this was a bad performance by the Seahawks, offensively. I mean, they had one good play, because Marshawn Lattimore fell down. But, I mean, other than that, they could do nothing. They couldn't even score a touchdown on the turnover that the Saints had in their own territory. The Seahawks ran like 3 plays and kicked a field goal to score 3 to tie the game at 10. It was so bad. Geno Smith and his inability, to clock manage, and I don't think Pete Carroll helped. The Seahawks are just so bad without Russell Wilson. Like it was so bad to watch. I don't even know what other words to use. It was bad. I don't even know how to describe it. It was bad. I don't know what we watched. I'm glad week 7 by far is the worst week of football we watched. I'm grateful for football. I'm not gonna deny that. This was just a bad weekend of football. At least Thursday starts off with a good game, because this was bad. And then the Saints, I think they played a very solid game. Their defense came to play. They didn't let the Seahawks do anything. I mean, in all honesty, if Russell Wilson was playing this game, I mean, he probably would have stepped up in the pocket better and not taken those dumb sacks, but I still think this would have been, an awful game to watch, even if Russ was playing. I mean, but even the Saints had their struggles. They had the ball for over 10 minutes. This is all in the second quarter here. They had the ball for 10 minutes on a drive, ran 19 plays and 86 yards, and they couldn't even score a touchdown. They were scored a field goal. Their best drive of the game was at the end of the first half when they scored a touchdown. That I was just like 10 plays, or 19 plays, 10 minutes, 86 yards, couldn't score a touchdown. I was like, that's bad. That's awful. I mean, their offense basically runs through Alvin Kamara. When Michael Thomas comes back, if he does, I mean, they'll be probably a little bit better. But at this point, it's just Alvin Kamara and nobody else. Their receivers couldn't catch. Jameis would have, numbers-wise, would have looked better if his receivers could have catch. It was back-to-back plays. His receivers dropped the ball. Kevin White and Kenny Stills, back-to-back plays on what looked like the exact same play, dropped the pass. It's just, this game was awful. I thought Jameis played, solid. Probably had his best game in a while, but this game was awful. And I cannot wait for week 8 to start.